the support aspect is critical. We believe it's critical. And there's a piece of that support that I think, I want to call out, and that is being able to borrow somebody else's confidence. Yeah. So imagine like, let's do some other scenarios. Imagine that you want to lose weight. Let's say it's 100 pounds, like big goals. You have 100 pounds to lose. You could go to the gym by yourself. And so that's an option, but you don't have any accountability. You don't have any support. You don't have anybody that you can talk to about challenges with your eating or, the exercise or any of those sorts of things. You're kind of just figuring it out all by yourself. You could also hire a trainer. And now, what if you hired a trainer that you only met with once and maybe everything else was virtual? That might be better because now you've got somebody that you can engage with and ask questions with. But what if you hired a trainer that you got to meet with every week and they were fit? Because every time you meet with them, you could regain that confidence. Like, actually, this is going to work. Look at her. Look at him. Look at the examples of some of the people that they've helped. You're able to see repeatedly the impact of the exercise and the eating program. You can see that it works. So you're borrowing their confidence. You may not have confidence that it works because you probably failed at things in the past. So maybe your confidence in yourself is shaken, but that's okay because you can look at somebody else and be like, okay, they can do it. There is a path and they're on it and they're inviting me and bringing me with it. So because I have the support, because I have the encouragement, and because I can see the path in front of me that somebody else already took, that I get to interact with a lot and ask questions. Anytime I'm stuck, I can be like, this thing. And they're like, okay, well, that's okay. Here's another way around it. Or here's an alternative. That is, statistically speaking, that is going to get you the 100-pound weight loss far more than any of the other options. And that is exactly why we have set up the Coaching Mastery community the way we have, because we have coaches of all successes that have been in long time, been in short time, but we get to meet and physically, even if it's virtual, it's physically, we get to see them and have these conversations. And there's so many rich questions that come out about, I'm stuck here. I don't know what to do here. And then other coaches will jump in and they'll be like, oh, like, this is what I've done. This is what I'm doing. This has worked. I'm struggling here too. So powerful. And so it's this community of support where you can borrow other people's confidence because you know that it's possible and they're doing it. That's what I love about a true community of support.
Yeah, I really love that. And there are two pieces in there. One is that, and one of the reasons why I think CMC works, and I think there's a lot of potential in there, is that if you were to picture, I kind of, in my mind, the visual, like if I'm on a journey, and imagine I'm on a trail in a forested area, a forest that I don't know anything about. There are lots of scary things around, but there are lots of opportunities that, as we're going through this journey. I ideally want some people who have been ahead of me on that path, who know what are the obstacles that are going to come, who know where they're going to get stuck and not just one person, but a group of people. And then some people who are along this journey with me. So I feel safe and I feel encouraged that we're on the same thing. We're supporting each other. And this is not like, I'm a coward. I need help. No, this is just by your nature as a human being. A lot of times in the Western world, we feel like individuals in our home. You take away the system, you take away the people that are running everything from electricity to food processing system to everything else, your grocery and everything else, you will be shit scared of your life. You will not be able to function. If somebody took you and put you in the forest, you don't have the ability to hunt and do all sorts of stuff to survive, you will be like, there's a movie, you got to watch it. Have you watched this movie, The Gods Must Be Crazy?
No.
You got to watch this movie. You went to Africa as well, so this is pretty cool. This is about the Aboriginal tribe there, the Kalahari, the Bushmen of the Kalahari. Hilarious movie. They kind of translated like what people do in the Western world and then compared it to how those people function. It's so funny too. They're not talking most of the time. It's like it's a 90s movie and there are two parts to it. The first one is, I like the first one, but I like the second one too. So basically the whole movie's around a Coke bottle. it's hilarious how there's a guy in a plane, those small little planes where you could open the window, and he has that glass Coke bottle. He drops it, and it goes in the middle of Africa and the Sahara, and with the Bushmen, and they grab it. That's the hardest substance they know in that region. And they start to, it's a cool story. Basically, that bottle becomes a problem for the Kalahari. But around that story arc, there's like these Europeans who come in with their truck full of water, because you cannot survive in that region without water. And that region is one of the driest places on earth. And somehow the Bushmen, because of the roots and plants that they are aware of, the knowledge that they have, they're able to sustain themselves. But these Westerners, when they come in with these water tanks, as soon as the water tank is done, they're like out of there because they cannot function in there. But these guys just survive. They've grown up for generations in that space. They don't know what to do. And the whole movie is kind of the comparisons of the ridiculousness of how we look at ourselves, but we don't realize how dependent are we in our systems. But it's also funny. Anyway, coming back to that, I don't want to lose my train of thought. What was I going to touch on for that?
How connected we are in our culture, especially in the Western culture, that we see ourselves as individuals.
Yeah, and that's the ego thing that I needed to deal with, and pretty much everybody needs to deal with that. We need support. Not because we're not enough or we don't have the courage or anything like that. The fact that you're in this space, you already have the courage. But what I was referring to is that by the function of how we are, we need support around us. We need feedback. And the reason why my CMC works is that there are a few people ahead of us. There are a few people on the journey with us, and a few people that are behind us. And as human beings, we drive a lot of meaning when we contribute to other people who are a little bit behind us. And the reason why CMC works, and the reason why I'm in the programs that I'm in, for example, I signed up recently. I have an individual business coach, and then I signed up for an opportunity to do in a small group with Ajit Nawalka, who's the head of Mind Valley, with 8 or 9 other coaches. And I'll share the egotistic part of how I think in these situations. So we did our first session a couple of weeks ago. One of the reasons why I felt motivated, aside from the fact that Ajit helped me with a specific problem, as I was listening to the other coaches there, I felt more motivated because I felt like I was ahead of most of them in many of the pieces. I needed to figure out only a couple of the pieces, but they needed to rebuild a bunch of the pieces that I had worked on for years. So I was like, all right, if I can figure out these 2-3 things that I don't know what to do with, then I should be good. And then I checked in with Ajit as I was like, what are your thoughts if I did this? He's like, that should work. You just need to be focused on this. And he even gave me some numbers around it. Yes, that's my own shortcoming to compare myself to a bunch of, but it helped me. It helped put my situation in perspective. Had I not been around these coaches and what Ajit was sharing, I have my own frame of reference. I have no idea where I am, but it gave me a frame of reference as to where I am in that growth journey.
And the value is that the other coaches are going to get to see you and borrow your confidence because you've already done some of the things that they still have to figure out and to establish. So there's there's support and value going both ways.
Yeah, and that's the piece that's the same in coaching mastery communities, and that's why we set it up as a leadership model, is that as coaches grow within our community, they become the mentors. They become the coaches that support those who are starting out. We're not the ones who are the gurus or the head. None of us individually are. We're just the model that coaches, and that confidence that Sherry shared that you need to borrow for the moment until you build it yourself foundationally. And then going back to your marketing. So the reason why in the initial part of marketing is to put yourself out there one way or another. Whether you're doing it through ads, you're doing it through organic marketing online, or you're doing it in person in a workshop or multiple workshops that you're doing, or you're part of a network, or you're leveraging somebody else's network, what you're doing is putting yourself out there. A lot of times you don't see results because you actually don't know what's happening along the way. You have no frame of reference. You don't know. Now, for example, I know what happens up until you make a few $100,000 in a coaching business consistently. Now, when I go to the 7-figure mark, I have no idea what the hell. I know now because I'm working with a lot of coaches at the 7-figure mark. But when I need to see what they're doing. I need to see what the path ahead looks like. If I have no frame of reference, I'm just going to randomly build. I'm going to try to reinvent the wheel. And you don't want to do that. And that's where your journey becomes longer and longer and longer and longer versus learning from their mistakes.